Hi, and welcome back. This is Miss Robinson with the most missed questions for the personality and development test. Quickly up front, I want to tell you that in terms of the number of most missed questions, we only have 5 this time. So that means that for the other 5, more than 50% of you got them right, which tells me that we're going to talk a little bit at the end, and we need to talk a little bit at the end about the way that we're studying, because if more than 50% of people got it right, chances are the material was there and there were a good number of people who just missed some questions because they didn't study properly. Additionally, the average was about the same as a normal test, but it wasn't like there were some harder questions that people missed. Like, people missed questions about equally. There were a bunch of questions that half the people missed, half the people got, and that kind of demonstrates an issue with study skills that we're going to talk about later. All right, so go ahead and get your writing utensil ready, and let's get started. All right, so the number one most missed question was this. According to Jean Piaget, children cease to exhibit egocentrism during which of the following stages? So really, to know this, you would just have to know the stages and what children tend to do. So this is like memorization for the most part. Maybe you struggled with the word egocentrism. Egocentrism means believing that the world revolves around you, but really terminology really close to that was used to describe these stages. So your choices are sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, post-conventional, and pre-conventional. And the answer is pre-operational. Number 2, Harry Harlow's experiments with rhesus monkeys suggest which of the following as most important for infants when establishing an attachment to their mothers. I would say this is one of the topics that I taught the most because I knew that there were several questions from previous AP exams regarding Harlow's experiments. I showed you video of it. We talked about it multiple times. I lectured on it at least once, maybe twice. And so I was kind of surprised that this was among the most missed questions. The choices are the amount of time spent with the mother's ability to protect the infant from physical harm, the mother's ability to provide nourishment to the infant, the tactile characteristics of the mother, or the particular vocalizations of the mother. Now, if you remember Harry Harlow's experiments, you remember that there was a fake, rhesus monkey made out of wire that had milk, and it was just wire, not covered in anything, and it distributed milk. It had like a face that looked monkey-esque, I guess. And then there was one that was covered, it was wire, did not provide food, and was covered in a towel. And the towel was soft, and it felt more like fur than obviously the wire monkey. So Harry Harlow saw that it really didn't matter the amount of time spent with the mother, or the mother, like the weird inanimate mother's ability to protect the infant from physical harm, or the mother's ability to provide nourishment for the infant. The rhesus monkeys, when they weren't hungry, kept going back to the terry cloth covered mother. So the only one that makes sense, because they weren't making any noises, is tactile characteristics. Tactile means feeling, the way that the mother felt. So the answer is the tactile characteristics of the mother. All right, number 3, humanistic psychologists believe that the drive, like our willingness to try to self-actualize, is primarily associated with peak experiences, like these mountaintop, experiences in our life, associated with extroversion, typical of older individuals, innate, or a developmental task of adolescence. Well, if you actually read up on humanistic psychologists and you had really good notes, you might have said, okay, it's associated with peak experiences. This is your distractor answer. But ultimately, not everyone's self-actualization and the reason that they try to become self-actualized is because of peak experiences. Peak experiences may contribute to their self-actualization, but it's not what makes them want to self-actualize and become their best self. Humanists believe that it's innate. It's something that every person has inside them. They have a drive to be their best self. So the answer is innate. Number 4, which of the following would be detrimental to an individual's maintenance of high self-esteem? Setting unrealistic personal goals, believing the cause of failure to be an unstable trait, attempting always to think positively, accepting personal strengths and weaknesses, or setting personal standards? Well, this is kind of common sense, but in order to maintain your self-esteem, you need to feel like you're accomplishing something. And so in order to really feel like you're accomplishing something, your goals need to be realistic. So if you set unrealistic personal goals and then don't accomplish them, like if you feel like you need to be in better shape and you're in horrible shape, like maybe you're in such bad shape that it's hard for you to walk down the block and you're like, I want to run a marathon in a month, that's unrealistic. And so when you don't accomplish that goal and you don't make a lot of headway in your mind, like you see it as not a lot of headway, you're going to be really frustrated with yourself when you don't accomplish it. So setting unrealistic goals is most detrimental to an individual's maintenance of high self-esteem, at least out of this series of choices. And number 5. Carol Gilligan, in her criticism of Lawrence Kohlberg, proposed that moral reasoning of males is primarily based on male repression of females, whereas the moral reasoning of females is based on economics, rational abstract principles, whereas the moral reasoning of females is based on relationships and the social context, legalistic ideals, whereas the moral reasoning of females is based on more humanistic ideals, observational learning, whereas the moral reasoning of females is genetically determined for the most part, or physical strength, whereas males start developing morally later than females, but surpass them soon afterward. And the answer is rational abstract principles, whereas the moral reasoning of females is based on relationships and the social context. Because remember, I emphasized in this unit how important it is for women to experience social connection. And we did talk about Gilligan in, I believe, your second lecture. All right, so in terms of the rest of the questions, like I said, more than 50% of the time they were accurately answered. So ultimately, when it comes to analyzing those stats, you have to say to yourself, okay, well, then that means that a lot of the most missed questions were things that I might have missed, but like half of the rest of the class didn't miss them. So it's definitely like a hole in our studying techniques. So what can you do to help yourself? Ask yourself these questions. Do I not know the terms? How can I better understand them? Are you doing everything you can do on Quizlet? If Quizlet isn't like 100% what works for you, you still have a list of terms, and nothing is stopping you from self-quizzing, from creating visuals for yourself, from coming up with mnemonics. All of those things can be done. I give you Quizlet up front, and then if Quizlet isn't like the end-all be-all for you, you can use other methods. Another question to ask yourself is, are you not studying your notes? Go back and make a mock test based on your notes. That being said, you need to make sure that the mock test lines up with your study guide. Are you not studying the study guide adequately? Just staring at it and being like, I'm vaguely aware of that topic is not adequate to be able to take that topic, know the definition, and apply the definition to a situation. So you need to find every single item on the study guide in your notes, on Quizlet, or in any of the readings we've done, and make sure that you know it well enough to explain it to somebody else. All right, that's all I've got for you. I will see you in class. Bye.